Third part of language learning pedagogy deals with making research accessible to teachers and facilitating action research. So first of all, let's see how we can make research accessible to teachers. For teachers' professional development, it is very important that teachers should be provided with opportunities to enhance the knowledge base of teaching English as foreign language or as well as English as second language in the non-native speakers domain. Cochrane, Smith and Lytle describe both knowledge for practice and knowledge in practice as key categories or key characteristics of teacher learning. Knowledge for practice basically is the particular formal knowledge which is characteristics of teacher development and related to subject matter, content, instructional strategies, and effective teaching or classroom practices. Whereas knowledge in practice is basically, it refers to kind of knowledge experienced through actual classroom contact with learners. So you have knowledge for practice, which is based on understanding of the subject matter, content, instructional methods and approaches. Whereas in practice is basically the experience the teacher has while having this interaction with the learners inside the classroom through practical application of all those learning approaches. Lightburn has drawn certain generalization from second language acquisition research, and these are useful generalization that can help teachers to develop their understanding of teaching pedagogies and approaches. Number one is that adults and adolescents can acquire a second language. So teachers need to develop their methodologies and approaches based on this. Second is that there are predictable sequence in second language acquisition such that certain structures have to be acquired before others. So designing any lesson, they need to take help from this particular research. And also that practice does not make perfect. It's not simply the drill practice approach that can make a learner perfect. It are the other aspects such as socio-cultural implication and socio-cultural understanding of lessons that can also play an important part. Also, knowing a language rule does not mean one will be able to use it in the communicative. So knowing the rules is insufficient. It's the opportunities or the context which can reinforce the learning mechanism. Isolated explicit error correction is usually ineffective. So in terms of changing language behavior, the error correction done in isolation without any context is not going to help the learner. Another is one cannot achieve native-like or near native-like command of language, second language in 1 hour a day. So the lessons or teaching approaches need to take this particular point into consideration, that if it's the input which is only restricted within 1 hour, it's not going to bring about the desired results. The learner's task is enormous because language is enormously complex. So teachers need to see the tasks and their level, their simplicity or the simpler or average, and the complexity of the task as per the proficiency level of the learners. Last but not the least is the learner's ability to understand language in a meaningful context exceeds his ability to comprehend decontextualized language and produce language to comparable complexity. So basically, meaningful context is which is going to enable learner and improve or enhance learner's ability as far as understanding of language for communication purposes is concerned. According to Ellis, his second language acquisition research is more for the researchers than for the teachers. Then this research needs to be summarized and must be organized for teachers to benefit from it. Issues identified in research such as learners' errors, input, interaction, fossilization, or the role of formal instruction, or pedagogical issues such as error treatment, role of first language in classroom, or option in teaching grammar, and so that teachers can have access to these research findings and prepare the lessons or the tasks as per the individualized needs of the learner. The next is how to facilitate action research. Action research is deliberate. It is solution-oriented, that at the end of the research, it's the solution or the problem that needs to be addressed, and is investigation that is group or personally owned and conducted. The link of the terms action and research highlight trying or performing an action, trying out an idea in practice as means of increasing knowledge about and or improving curriculum. Corey identifies or defines action research as the process through which practitioners study their own practice to solve their personal practical problems. So action research is the result which is carried out by the practitioners in order to develop the understanding of a problem at hand through the process of engaging the learner, and after that is whatever the action is research is being conducted, it is solution oriented, that at the end of the day it is the problem that needs to be investigated and a solution needs to be arrived at in order to address the communicative problem effectively. This typical facilitation process includes providing research forums for sharing questions, concerns, and results. So the teachers should be provided with research forum for sharing questions or concerns with other researchers or teachers. Teachers sharing, advising each other, and deliberating on progress of individual efforts needs to be done in a group. Also, engaging in collaborative action research helps eliminate the isolation that has long characterized teaching, as it promotes professional dialogue and thus creates more professional culture. So the emphasis is on collaboration, and by collaboration the teachers can have more meaningful dialogue and can have professional culture where they can get in a process of discussion or deliberating problems, and through consensus they can come up with the desired results. Providing teacher with autonomy, that is very important, that if you want teachers to come up with the specific solution to a problem, they needs to be given autonomy. Based on the research, they should be able to make informed decision, and those decisions which are data driven, which have the empirical findings or experimentation at the back of those decisions. The typical steps in action research is that you identify the problem and then you gather data. The data can be form of student sample or any resource or information that you are using, and then you interpret that data. Based on that, you act on the evidence. That evidence comes from the interpretation of the data. Then you evaluate the results. Based on that, you take the next step, which is leading you towards the basically redefining of the problem. So that is a spiral or spiraling of the research that takes place starting from identifying of problem, gathering data, interpreting, acting on the evidence, evaluation, and based on evaluation you determine the next step, which leads to the outcome of the problem that has been identified or redefining of the problem that has been identified. To conclude, research should be accessible to teachers for professional development, because teaching done in isolation lacks dynamic methods and understanding for effective teaching practices. Action research provides these teachers with the opportunity to gain knowledge and get themselves in the process of reflection, important for decision making.